Hey guys, and welcome back to another thick dosage of dinosaur facts. Today I'm going to tell you about a bunch of different dinosaur groups and rank them on a tier list based on scientific and unbiased measurements. Remember to drop a like and slap that subscribe button, or you'll get caveman fever. A lot of the groups in this video are very different sizes, and the lines paleontologists draw can be somewhat up to debate anyway, so I generally divvied it up by similar body plans and lifestyles. In English, if another family was different enough, they get their own spot on the tier list. Caprese? And with that, let's start out at F tier and work our way up. We're going to kick off our list with some stupid little critters known as the Compsognathids. This is a pretty small family of theropods, and the dinosaurs within this group were pretty puny too, which is ironic since they're actually closely related to Tyrannosaurs. Spoiler alert, they're not in F tier. Overall, a pretty disappointing and shrimple family, and we're not going to waste any more time in this video on them. Easy F tier. Next up are the Prosauropods. These were the first members of the sauropod lineage, a great family of dinosaurs containing the longest animals to ever live, and the largest to ever live on land. But for now, we have these fucking things, which are basically just long cows. They were successful in the Triassic, but it probably wasn't that hard to be dominant in a world that had just been fried like a rat in a McDonald's deep fryer. I see the vision, but unfortunately, Prosauropods are going to stay down here in F. Up next, we have the freakish demon creatures that nature created while God was on the shitter, the Scansoriopterygids. These were nature's first real attempt to dominate the skies since pterosaurs, and insects, but they fucking cheat. And holy shit, they should have quit while they were ahead. Like, what the fuck is that? That's a sleep paralysis demon, that's what that is. Fuck you, evil skin bat. You go in F tier because I don't want to talk about you anymore. Another entry into the F tier, we actually have a collection of a few families. Dinosaurs from Dryosauria, Heterodontosauria, and Pachycephalosaurids all have similar roles in the ecosystem, so they're getting lumped together. Basically, these guys breed and get eaten by things that are higher on the tier list than them. They look kinda cool, to be honest, and I would probably hang out with one if I had the chance, but for now, they're gonna have to hang out down in F. And our final entry in F tier are birds. Whoa, I bet you weren't expecting that one. Holy shit, that's crazy. Yes, birds are technically dinosaurs, guys. Actually, closely related to Dromaeosaurids, like Velociraptor. And dear God, how far this mighty bloodline has fallen. As cool as, like, cassowaries and deep-fried chicken is, I dare you to say to my face any of that is cooler than a fucking T-Rex. Sorry, F. Next, we're moving up to D tier, starting off with the Ornithomimids. These were theropods who ate a mix of vegetation and small animals. They used their long legs to run away super fucking fast from anything that might want to murder them, and that is about it. They're not necessarily a bad group, but they lack any sort of cool factor that would make me put them any higher. I also can't in good conscience put an animal with a survival strategy quite that pussy any higher than D tier. Next up, we have the Brachiosaurs. These are pretty standard sauropods, pretty huge, but they kinda skip leg day. Their front legs were much longer than their back legs, allowing them to feed on higher vegetation. It gives them a unique look among sauropods, but other than that, they don't have a whole lot going for them. Pretty easy D tier. Now we have the primitive Ceratopsians, animals like Protoceratops, Leptoceratops, and Stegosaurids. Many animals in this group are very well understood to science, and gives a good look on how they would have actually lived, from stupid, helpless little infant to a full-blown tax-paying adult. I think they look kinda cool too, but they probably wouldn't make for great pets in real life. They're also much less impressive than their bigger descendants, so they're gonna get a D for now. Second last in D tier are the Pachycephalosaurids. Like the animals before, these are also relatives of Triceratops, but they went a different route with their headgear. If you could compare a Triceratops to a T-17E1 staghound, then a Pachycephalosaurus would be like a drunk guy with a knife or some shit. I see what they were going for, but what the fuck are you gonna do when a T-Rex doesn't immediately fold to your little headbutt move? There was also that scientist who tried to prove they couldn't actually bash their skulls together. I'm still really pissed off at that guy for taking my dreams out back and shooting them like a fucking dog. Fuck you! Sorry, Pachycephalosaurs. D tier. And finally, we have the Ankylosaurids. These animals were built like living tanks to survive the predatory clusterfuck that was the late Cretaceous period. They had bony armor covering every inch of their body, from their eyelids to their tail, which acted basically as a living wrecking ball. And wreck it did, delivering between 7,000 and 15,000 newtons of force. I would never claim to be a physicist, because that would be gross, but those numbers are pretty big. However, their armor had a major flaw, as its entire underside was uncovered for some reason, which seems like an oversight to me, but maybe it was just a balancing nerf. Because of that, and a lack of variety in the family, I'm unfortunately going to have to drop them in D tier. Our first entry in C tier is going to be quite controversial, so be warned, watching past this point waives your legal right to unsubscribe. In C tier, we have the Stegosaurs. Yeah, they are kinda cool, but I think we need to get over our elementary school ass biases and sit the fuck down in the big boys corner. As a group, overall, they're fine. The plates are weird, but nothing if not a bitchin' flex. Especially if they could flush them with color. The spikes on the tail are a cool idea, but realistically aren't the best weapon. Sure, it'll fucking hurt, but then what? The Stegosaur has to struggle to get it out and might be left open for a counter wallop. There are also many Allosaurus fossils that have been found with healed Stegosaurus wounds, so clearly it wasn't that lethal. It's just an unrefined version of the club the Ankylosaurs had. Sorry guys, C tier is where the Stegosaurs are at. You have to be a little cooler than that to land any higher on my tier list. Next in C, we have the Nodosaurids. They are very closely related to the Ankylosaurs from D tier, and also the Stegosaurs from before. The main distinction between Ankylosaurs and Nodosaurs are that Nodosaurs lack the club at the end of their tail. And yes, on the surface level, that's simply throwing away cool points. But these animals make up for it and then some with their cool ass fucking spikes. These spikes were often around their necks and sides to ward off predators. They all look incredibly baller in their own way, but they also suffer from the same issues as the Ankylosaurs. So a C is the highest I can give them. And yeah, I put them right after the Stegosaurs to piss you off. Our third entry in C tier are the Oviraptorosaurs. These are very bird-like dinosaurs and are related to raptors. Most of these dinosaurs were omnivores and generally pretty small, except for Gigantoraptor for some reason. They also had really cool feathers and crests, and god damn it, I'm a sucker for cool character design. Unfortunately, there are some creatures in this group that look like this shit, and for that reason alone, they are staying in C. Next, we got the Alvarezsaurids, another small family of quite unique little critters. These tiny theropods used long tongues and these things that barely qualify as arms to dig into termite nests and slurp them up out of there. I feel like they would make a really cool pet, but beyond that, there's not a whole lot to them. I feel C tier is pretty fair. Our final entry in C tier are the Dilophosaurids and their close relatives. This family is made up of very primitive theropods, and a lot of them were pretty frail. I think I could probably take one in a fight. I would put them in D or possibly F if it weren't for the crazy crests some of them have on their heads. Like, look at that shit. They called this one Elvisaurus because it looks like Elvis. I dare you to put that any lower than C. Our first family in B tier are the Megaraptors. And yeah, besides sounding like a fucking Pokemon, they're pretty cool. They aren't actually that closely related to normal raptors, but scientists aren't quite sure who the fuck these guys really are anyway. These dinosaurs look like normie theropods at first glance, but they took a whole different approach to butchering and murdering. Instead of using their skill points in the jaw tree, they stayed claw maxing until they were about a foot long. These could be used to slice the jugular or disembowel their prey. I think stabbing your prey to death is pretty tough, but it also reminds me of British people, so they lost a few points there. Simple B. The second entry in B tier are the Spinosaurids. This is one of the most unique flavors of theropod. Instead of being an active predator like most other large theropods, they said, "Fuck you, bitch, I'm going fishing." These dinosaurs look a lot like crocodiles and probably lived like them too. It's unclear whether they would have chilled on the beach and hunted from there, or if they were a fully aquatic river predator. But either way, doesn't sound like a bad way to live. No one really knows what's up with the sails on their backs, but they make it look cooler, and I would say evolution was cooking. My only problem is that they all basically look the same, so they won't place any higher than B tier for me. Next in B are the Chasmosaurids. This is one of the 2 real families of ceratopsids. These guys don't count. And where you'll find the Triceratops himself. As far as the survival plan goes, they got that shit pretty locked down. Huge horns to deal with the ops, a bony frill to protect the neck if one spins back, and a squad to watch your 6. Kinda OP if you ask me. My main issue is that for such a visually striking family, there's kind of a lack of variety. For that reason, I think B tier is fair. Then we have the Saurolophids. These animals lived in huge herds of possibly hundreds, and were the prehistoric equivalent to today's bison or wildebeests. Except unlike a bison or wildebeest, these animals have very little in the way of defense. But like I said before, they look kinda sick, so I can look past it. These kind of hadrosaurs lacked the cool factor of other ornithopods though, so B tier it is. Lastly in B tier, we have the Diplodocoids. These sauropods were some of the biggest to ever chungus. Most of these animals had very similar body plans, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. Some animals like Supersaurus grew to be about 115 feet long. These absolute gargantuan sizes made them untouchable by Jurassic predators once fully grown. They would have suffered hard in the early game, however, as most of this dude's babies would get eaten. Also, not very imaginative in body sizes or cool extra features, so B tier it is. First up in A are the Iguanodontids. Another group of ornithopods, but unlike the ones we've already looked at, these guys knew how to throw their weight around. While hadrosaurs mostly relied on pretty privilege to survive, Iguanodontids were stockier, likely more aggressive, and had spikes for thumbs that could be used for self-defense. They also had an opposable digit, so that's kinda cool. A-tier dinosaurs. Next up is Ceratosauria, a pretty big group of theropods. These were medium-sized predators that had horns sitting atop their medium-sized cranium. There's a wide variety of head ornaments in this family, which would have been used for mating displays and combat. The only thing that holds these dinosaurs back from an S tier is that there is not an apex predator to be found in this family. Unfortunately, with a legacy as beta as that one, it's hard to put them too high up. A tier for these little fellas. Next entry in A are the Allosaurs and Megalosaurs, 2 closely related families that made up the top tier of predators in late Jurassic North America, Europe, and Asia. These animals were fast and quite swole. Many of them were likely pack animals as well. Allosaurus was referred to as the lion of the Jurassic, but I don't even think that's a fair comparison, because lions don't have to deal with 5-ton tanks with spikes for tails, or behemoths so large they could flatten you and not even notice. This, and the Allosaur's general cool factor, earns them a spot in A tier. The next spot goes to the Therizinosaurs. These eldritch horrors are theropods closely related to the Oviraptorosaurs from C tier. Despite looking like evil murder scissor turkeys, these animals lived a life more comparable to a sloth, or a vagrant from the streets of Chicago. They lived solitary lives feeding on whatever vegetation they could find, but were not afraid to defend themselves with their blades. Recent studies have suggested that their claws were actually too weak to fight with, and would act more like those grabbers old people have, but for food. But until this is proven for sure, I'm going to live in my own fantasy world where they had sword fights, and leave them up in A tier. The final spot in A goes to the Carcharodontosaurids.
Carcharodontosaurus. Yeah, it would definitely eat you.
These were some of the most successful predators to ever terrorize the planet, and they looked pretty fucking sick while they did it. Their heads are a tad longer than the average theropod's skull. This was to fit in rows of serrated teeth that are very similar to modern sharks, which is where their name comes from. This basically made their jaws like giant cheese graters, useful for wearing down the massive prey they had to deal with, a family we will be touching on in the next tier. But for now, Carcharodontosaurids are going to be the last entry in A tier. And now, onto our final tier, the peakest of peak, the dinosaurs of all time. Our first family are the Titanosaurids. From a biological point of view, gigantism is kind of a cheese strat. All you have to do is have a shitload of offspring, hope that like 10 make it to adulthood, and then they're untouchable. It takes zero skill. But goddamn, if you're gonna do it, go big or go the fuck home. And Titanosaurs knew what they were cooking. This family has many of the largest animals Earth has ever seen. And while the modern blue whale has them beat in weight, living in the ocean is also an evolutionary cheese strat. Smaller Titanosaurs had some pretty crazy armor on them too. But even some of the big ones had light armoring, because the carnivores they had to deal with were huge assholes. Easy first entry into the S tier. Next are the Centrosaurids. This is the other, much cooler branch of Ceratopsia. Where the Chasmosaurids focused more on their brow horns, Centrosaurids leveled their nose horn. This family had some incredible head ornaments that would make a moose blush. I am slightly biased, as this family contains my favorite dinosaur of all time, Pachycephalosaurus. But I mean, come on, look at it. Like, that's so badass. And I don't need to explain myself to you any more than that. S tier. The third spot in S goes to the legendary Tyrannosaurs. Yeah, I said earlier to let go of your elementary school biases, but this family actually lives up to the hype. Of course, there's the Tyrannosaurus itself, a contender for the most efficient predator to ever shoot out of evolution's sphincter. Yeah, the arms are a little funny, but who needs them when your jaws can one-shot literally anything? That shit indeed hurting, and it's backed up by rigorous scientific research. There's also the Diplodocoids, also one of my favorites, a slightly smaller but much faster version of the T-Rex. Or there's the Guanlong, which wasn't exactly a beastly fellow, but at least he looks cool. Easy fucking S tier. Next up are the Dromaeosaurids and the Troodontids. There's a reason why these guys are the villain in some capacity in every Jurassic Park movie. These predators were small, mostly, swift, smart, and some may have hunted in groups. So fucking awesome. I honestly don't really know why I'm explaining this to you. What else do you want me to say? If you weren't expecting these up here, then you're fucked up in the head anyway. S tier. And our final group of S tier and the tier list altogether, the Lambeosaurs. But they don't look that awesome, your dumbass is thinking right now. Let me educate you. These hadrosaurs were some of the biggest to ever live. And while they didn't have any weapons necessarily, a swift kick from a Lambeosaur wouldn't be something you just walk off. Other hadrosaurs had kicks that packed a mean wallop as well, but few could grow to the sizes necessary to stand up to a full-grown tyrannosaur like Lambeosaurs could. And the coolest feature of all was the crazy headgear these guys had. Whenever you see a feature on a creature that seems useless and unnecessary for survival, the typical explanation is that it was used for getting some. And when it came to Lambeosaurs, these weren't Rizzlords, these were Riz deities. Actually nothing else like them in the animal kingdom. Easy S tier to round off our tier list. And that is the dinosaur tier list. If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure I'm right anyway. Thanks to everyone who watched the video all the way through, it means a lot. Don't forget to slap the like and subscribe button while you're here, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one, boys. Bye.